We have an awesome show for you today. Court and I are going to compare Xbox Game Pass to the brand new revamped PlayStation Plus model and the big differences between the two. Let's get into the full episode for you guys right now. Court, let's have some fun today, Big Daddy. You want to talk a little bit of Game Pass, brother, and a little bit of PlayStation?
I do, because I first want to preface my opinion here that I truly feel that they're not the same.
How dare you?
And I'll start off why I don't think
that's not what Twitter says.
I know, but I think PlayStation Plus is really just PlayStation. It's just PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus put together. And Game Pass is a different service. Now, you brought up a very good point in a conversation yesterday to me of when Game Pass launched, it wasn't what it is now.
Correct. Yes. It was very PlayStation. We had those 100 games or whatever, and it was a lot of old, and you got Gears, and then you got Master Chief Collection, and that was it for a while.
Exactly. So I truly think this is a soft launch, I guess you'll call it, because it launches in June, but it launches in Asia first, and then It hits North America. It's a slow trickle. By the end of June, we will all have it in areas that can get it. PlayStation has announced the tiers. We're going to go through them. Then we're going to go through Game Pass, and we're going to compare them and see which one comes out. Which one do we prefer? And you're probably going to figure out from there that I don't think they're the same at all. So we have the first tier is PlayStation Plus Essential. It is the exact same thing that you get from PlayStation Plus now. It doesn't change. Price doesn't change. We're going through US dollars here. It's $9.99 a month, $24.99 quarterly, and $59.99 a year. They put in there that it's only 2 monthly downloadable games. But we've looked through this. The wording has always been that. So you're still getting the same, 2 PS4 games, 2 PS5 games until they eventually just get rid of the PS4 games. And they also have the cloud storage for save games. Now, right off the bat, we already know as Xbox users, we get that for free anyways. So then you have your next tier, which is PlayStation Plus Extra. Provides all the benefits from the Essential tier, but adds up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation studios. They have not announced the full catalog of what the games are going to be, so this does leave a lot of questions. They did, though, announce that we're going to get Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal. Now, I was originally wondering which version we get, PS4 or PS5. Returnal only is a PS5. So my guess is from these announcements, we're going to get the upgraded God of War. We'll get the PS5 version of Marvel Spider-Man.
Hope so.
Yes, I really, you know what? It is a hope so. I really do hope they give us the PS5 versions because that would be more comparable to Game Pass because in Game Pass, we get the upgraded version. We get the best version of said game. Now, this tier is $14.99 a month, $39.99 quarterly, and $99.99 for the year. Then you have the PlayStation Plus Premium. It adds an additional 340 games. Those games, the PS3 games, are only available for cloud streaming because of the PlayStation 3 architecture. PlayStation created something that could never be duplicated, and they did it to themselves. So, unfortunately, I think this is a big boo if it's only through cloud streaming, because we all know that not everybody has the best internet. A catalog of beloved classic games from the PlayStation, PS2, and PSP, which they did say those will be downloadable, but they also will offer cloud streaming on those games. And a limited game trial, so demos, which is a weird, I don't know, this is the weirdest one of them all.
Yeah.
Like we get demos. I don't play them half the time, but limited game trials. I think that it could be something what EA Play does, where they're like, here you can play 8 hours,
10 hours, 8 hours, but not. Yeah. We don't have enough context to say here's Ragnarok and here's 40 minutes of Ragnarok demo. And you're like, but that's up to the individual developer and the studio if they want to participate in that. I think a narrative focused, story heavy game probably don't want to do that. Also, it's also way more time and investment to create said demos and those experiences to say, here's a sizzle reel or a specific amount of the game, and you can put it out there. I don't know. That's a wait and see.
Yes, but if they do the EA way, EA just unlocks the game for you, and then when your time is up, your time is up. Like there's no,
I know,
you
but
can
the
play
EA
whatever you
titles
want.
are very much sports and
yes,
shooters and
right.
all, Battlefront, things like that, where it doesn't really impact you. I'm saying your Uncharted and your God of Wars and your Horizons, it's kind of story driven. where it's like that could spoil a lot of stuff for players.
So right there tells me why they're doing it. It makes people buy the games.
Oh,
so
1000%.
They have made the announcement before I even get to the pricing. Jim Ryan has come out saying day and date is not happening as of right now, and he says that if they did do that, it would degrade the games. I think that was a terrible statement. That's just my opinion. That doesn't even make any sense to me. I think they could just raise the price, because we'll get into the price comparisons right now. So the price is $17.99 a month, $49.99 quarterly, and $119.99 a year. That is cheaper right off. So if we're gonna do PlayStation Plus Premium to Game Pass and combine them together, I'll go over Game Pass right here. So we'll talk about Game Pass. Game Pass Ultimate is $16.99 a month Canadian. That works out to be $180 for the year. You get unlimited access to 100 high-quality games across PC, console, and mobile devices. New games added all the time. Xbox Studio game titles when they premiere, so day and date. Members discounts and deals. Exclusive free perks, which the perks are very nice.
Decent,
yeah. Play games on mobile phones, tablets, and clouds, which is just giving you another way to play. They're not saying, hey, you can download everything, but... And then you also get EA Play plus the 10% discount on any EA title. Xbox Live Gold, which you and I have talked in length that it just needs to go, make that go away. Just encompass it into Game Pass, and just you have Game Pass Ultimate. Yeah. And then you have your PC Game Pass, which is members, discounts, and deals, Xbox Game Studio titles with Premiere, new games at all the time, unlimited access to 100 high-quality PC games, plus EA Play, which is only $11.99 a month. And then you have the normal Game Pass, which is $11.99 a month for console, which is unlimited access to high-quality games, 100 of them, new games added all the time, Xbox Studio titles with Premiere, members, discounts, and deals. With Game Pass Ultimate, someone did the math, it's just about 400 games with EA Play wrapped into it, because Game Pass for console doesn't come with EA Play unless you do Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I think for me, right off the bat, the biggest difference is price.
What was Court? Just a premium PlayStation Plus
is $119.99,
and Xbox Ultimate
comes to $180.
The difference is, in my opinion, there, you can get into like semantics of like, you know, you get perks here and you get EA Play, and like when you look at what PlayStation could be doing with acquisitions of more studios potentially, or even partnership deals where they work more closely together and they loop it into their service, the biggest thing is the day and date, and that's where I think they're not in the same conversation. Before the announcement, 100%, we were all wondering, is it going to be day and date games? And Jim Ryan has basically said, no, that is not happening. Unless they are forced, their hand is forced, or sales are plummeting. The fact is, you're making gobs of money. And why would I give you my premium experience titles that cost millions of dollars to develop and put them into a subscription model that I'm not going to get my money back right away? Long term, maybe, but that's not the play for them, and that's fine. I think the biggest difference is that we don't get day and date on this PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now amalgamation, and so it is not the same thing. We want to compare it, we always do, but they're not the same thing, because Xbox will say, here's day and date games. You can talk about downloadable versus cloud. They both offer it, but even the architecture is different. It's not, without the day and date, they're just doing different things. It's a rebranded, new fresh coat of paint on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, and I think even with the PlayStation announcement, I think reading the tea leaves, there was a lot of insiders or analysts all over the social media yesterday saying they think that PlayStation had to rush this out because so much was leaking. The fact that it was a PlayStation blog and it left more questions than answers. We don't know the catalog of game. We don't know how long their first-party studio games are going to like with Game Pass, we know Xbox first-party studio games, they're just there. They're always going to be there. Third-party stuff, yes, it comes and goes. They tell you when it comes and goes, so on and so forth. EA Play, same thing. But with the PlayStation one, we don't know. Like you said before, we don't know what PlayStation games we're getting. We don't know what versions we're getting of them, how long they're going to be there, how long until one of their Horizon Forbidden West. I just finished it, love the game.
Is it a year? Is it 2 years? 5 years?
And if they're going by the PlayStation Now model, we know that Spider-Man was there and took away. Spider-Man was and then brought back. Last of Us was there, and then they took it away. There's a lot of PlayStation first-party games that they bring to the service on PlayStation Now that they take away. And then when you look at the third-party games, there's some weird stuff in there.
And on the third-party side, look at with PlayStation Now, what was this, 3 to 6 months ago, Marvel's Avengers dropped on PlayStation Now, and it had a big hubbubaloo because people were saying, okay, it's streamed, and it's the base version of Marvel's Avengers. It's not even the up-res PS5 version. So I'm sitting on my PlayStation 5 as a player. I pay for PlayStation Now. Marvel's Avengers is there, so you're telling me I get it in my subscription, but I'm getting the base version of this game? That was one of those weird Sony things where I'm like, why are you not giving players the up-res version of this game that is out, that's on your platform, and you're paying the subscription model? That issue, when it comes to I feel that Sony would want their first-party premium titles, their Last of Us, God of Wars, and Uncharted, to have players have the optimal experience, the PlayStation 5 experience if it's available to you. I think they would want that because that's people wanting to invest and say, I get the premium thing. The third-party stuff is where, to me, it gets wonky and weird. And I would worry that you're not going to get the premium version of that game if it is available, and you get the base version. And as a subscription holder, you're paying the monthly to Sony, or if it was on Xbox, you're like, well, then why am I paying for that? Like, I'm not getting the best experience, and I'm paying for it. To me, I look at like Netflix, and it's saying, you don't get the 4K version of this movie that's on Netflix. You're like, why? Because it's on Amazon Prime. Why don't you have the same movie, the same thing, and if you were splicing it that way? You know what I mean? So,
well, it's like when they gave out Final Fantasy. Remember, they gave the remake, and then because of the outcry, they eventually gave you the free upgrade into the PS5 version. And I think that was the right thing to do. And it's not that Xbox has spoiled us, but we also know when we do, you gave Avengers as an example. We got the Wakanda expansion when it came to Game Pass. When a game comes to Game Pass, if it's not day and date. So when a third-party game comes day and date, we don't get all the bells and whistles, but we get a discount, except on the show, but that's a Sony game, so this kind of makes sense. It's the first game where it's coming to Game Pass, and we can't buy the $30 upgraded version to get the ultimate package of the game, like we could with Forza and other games that have dropped. So I'm wondering if Sony's going to do that. Like, if we're getting third-party games after the fact on said service, are we going to get the one with all the DLC? Are we going to get everything? Are we going to get the DLC for games, for first-party games, when they come? Yeah, like, are we going to get the full... If we're going to get Spider-Man PS5, are we getting it with all the DLC? Or do we have to buy said DLC? Are we getting discounts? There's
too many questions, and I'm with you.
There's so many questions.
And if it goes down that path, which I wouldn't put it against Sony if they came out or didn't talk about it until it's released and was like, oh, there's Spider-Man PlayStation 5 version. You go, cool. I'm getting, which I have the B-roll right now playing. You're getting Spider-Man PlayStation 5 on this service. That's a win. It wouldn't put it past me, and I wouldn't put it past them if Sony turned around and was like, yeah, but you want the DLC and the extra missions? You got to pay for all of that. You got to download that. But then I raise my hand. But I raise my hand again, though, sir, and I go, but this is on cloud, and it's through the subscription model, which, not that they would pull their first-party titles on there, but they rotate them. So what happens when, say you have a third-party game even, let's move on from Spider-Man, get a third-party game in there, you play it on cloud, you then get the DLC, and 6 months later, the game is gone from the cloud service, from the rotation.
But that can happen on Game Pass.
Yeah,
but I still don't think they're the same. I still don't think they're the same service. Like, Game Pass is more expensive. When Jim Ryan made his comment, I was like, well, just charge more. Like, if that's the thing, like, it's almost $200 for the year to have Game Pass. It's only $120 for the year to have this PlayStation Premium.
Why wouldn't you then? And I'm with you. And why wouldn't you then entertain? Because they would have done all the numbers. There's clearly a reason why they wouldn't put those first-party day and dates.
They've been working on this for a while, and they originally didn't want to do it. And this goes against the grain, but I think Xbox did put them in a position where they kind of had no choice to go this route. And I think they're doing it slow and steady because, like, look what they're doing. They sell, every first party game is 20 million, 30 million, well, 20 to $15 million, 15 million copies sold, right? Yep. So that's a lot of money. So maybe my guess, this is just a non-educated guess, just nerdy gamer. I think they'll drop them a year after. A year after the game has been out, it will come to the service, and it is what it is. And we get like the full version, but we won't get, there's still going to be the Sony and release the director's cut. They're going to
the
give you the
DLC
base version. Yeah.
And with that, if you follow that train of thought, which I agree, you get your Horizon Zero Dawn, and Horizon Forbidden West comes out a year from now. They can cherry pick it because it's all theirs, those first parties. They will cherry pick based off of the numbers and how that game, how Horizon is selling. Because if it's still selling and they're hitting 25 million, 30 million, and it's been out for a year and their total sales are going to hit, well, we're trending and tracking that we're going to hit 35 million. And at that point, you get the game discounted too, right? There's deals, Black Friday deal, all that stuff. So even though the game is being sold in the retail stores for $50, they're still making the money off that. There's no incentive for Sony, in my opinion, at that point to even pull the trigger and say, we got to put it on our service. They would wait until it's absolutely just kind of done. And it's like, okay, it's making a few bucks, a few million, or a few 100,000. Okay, now launch it on the service and it gets another jolt of life because it's more players engaged. It's another opportunity, like we were talking about, to get in there and get the additional content that people didn't buy the first time and they waited. There's so much of that. And I don't disagree. I think that's great. I just go back and say at the end of it all, one, like you said, there is not enough information at all. And I think that Sony felt like they had to get something out there because stuff's going to leak. So get ahead of it, put out a blog post, and we'll reveal more information as we go. And two, they're not the same service. This is PlayStation Plus, and PlayStation Now had a baby and they recreated PlayStation Plus membership tiers. And
yeah, no, the parents got divorced and then they got remarried.
There you go.
And I truly think that we're going to see something different when the Activision Blizzard thing goes through. Yeah. And if Starfield is the banger that it seems like, we haven't seen gameplay, so I shouldn't say it seems to be, but like from everything I've watched in those videos with the screenshots, like I'm excited about this game. If it is the game that everybody expects it to be, and you get all the Activision Blizzard stuff coming next year, I think that's going to escalate what Sony needs to do. And right now they don't need to. Like, their first party games sell, but if Xbox Game Pass becomes this juggernaut that it could become, and or say Microsoft buys another studio, or when finally the Ubisoft Plus stuff comes, we're going to have different conversations.
Yeah,
and PlayStation might have to make different choices.
They might, and maybe they are holding in their back pocket. We also can't look at this as players. We look at things as very reactive of just, this is what's happening now. This is what we know, like we're talking now. But we also have to keep in mind what things would look like for a Sony and an Xbox, but in this case, Sony, 5 years from now. Think about where they want to be, need to be in 5 years to hit these marks, to hit another console cycle, what they would want or project their numbers to be for subscribers for their service. And yeah, in 5 years, we are going to have Activision full board everything under Xbox. We will have that already going. That will become a new norm. By then, we probably see more acquisitions. I think Sony does these things to anticipate, okay, the landscape is going to change in a couple of years. We have all our first parties. We're good there. We have some third parties. The Bungie acquisition is big. We need that to hit for us in 3 to 5 years as more of a platformer. And then I think they see what happens, because they could court with it being with PlayStation Plus. Sorry, say it again. PlayStation Plus Premium is how much? 120?
Yeah, $119.99 US. So
I wonder if they could
140 Canadian.
I wonder if they could come out in a couple of years to see how it all goes, and they could easily pull the trigger and say, you know what? Here's our ultimate tier. It's above the platinum. And the exclusive tier is going to give you everything plus day and date, but it's going to cost you. And it's going to cost you, maybe it's $250 a year. I don't know. But I'm saying, why not do that? Why not even offer that today? But they clearly know, because they're making so much money off the Horizons and the God of Wars, it doesn't make sense at this point. But if there's so many studio acquisitions, Court, over the next couple of years, and we see the fruits of an Activision and what that does for Xbox and the potentials of a Ubisoft Plus, that can change the whole conversation for Sony. Or they go down the road of a Nintendo and they're like, we're doing our thing because we're making $50 million off of Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they go, "You're gonna come for our games. Like you're gonna be here, Matt, for Spider-Man." I go, "You damn right."
There's a better comparison to the PlayStation Plus thing is the Nintendo Switch Online, except actually it isn't because the Nintendo Switch Online is just the older games. So it's whatever. They're all three different services. It's good for gamers.
Yep.
This is not a bad thing. If you own both consoles, you should be happy. I'm gonna get the one. I think I'm going with extra. I think that's the one I'm going with. Just the one that gives me the PS4 and PS5 games.
Yeah.
And that's the one I'm gonna go with.
I'm gonna start off with just the basic, honestly, just because it's just regular PlayStation Plus. I just want to see it launch though. I just want to see what they rolled out with and what it looks like and what service and value it gives me. What's the actual value of this thing?
Let us know in the comments. You do you see this as being the same thing? Do you see this as good for gaming? Like what do you think of this? Just let us know.
See ya.